Hello, I'm Matthew Malcolm with California Ag Network, reporting to you from downtown Sacramento. I'm here with Dennis Albiani from California Advocates. He's a great lobbyist, works with the Almond Alliance of California, and wanted to talk with you specifically today. I know there's a whole slew of issues that you're dealing with at the Capitol and in Washington, but plastics, packaging, that's a big issue and a priority, it seems like, for our state and nation, focusing on climate and lowering that carbon footprint, and how all of this it sounds great and all, but the practicality of it, how is this all going to work out? Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, California farmers are well aware of sustainability and clean air, clean water, and those issues that affect sustainability. However, we don't hear as much about is what you talked about, packaging, how our products are transported, shipped, and sold at retail and also wholesale. And so there are a slew of bills that have been for a couple years, but now it's starting to get very significant about how our products are packaged, how they're sold, and specifically in plastics. They're concerned about water quality in the ocean. Some of the plastics make their way out to the ocean, and then inland waterways as well. And so they have used those reports and the public sentiment to start to regulate the packaging and plastic packaging specifically, including mandatory minimum content, including requiring certain amount to be recycled. And if it's not recycled, then essentially banning that product to be used as a packaging material going forward.
And how is this going to, obviously it's going to impact our agricultural industry and our almond industry. What can you give some specifics?
So many of our almonds are sold at retail, and we have some very successful marketers here in California of our almonds. And so the package that you see, it always used to be years ago was a can a week. Well, now we sell them in pouches. We sell the product in a plethora of different options, and what the consumer wants and how you can see the product. Like many consumers want to see how it looks and the size of the nuts and those areas.
Right.
Some of that could be impacted over time because if it requires too much recycled content, you may not be able to have a clear panel. We also may have to pay to get the products recycled or pulled into the recycling system. And then mandatory minimum content could increase the costs of packaging going forward. And then the other issue is they're not just looking at how it looks on a shelf and the packaging that's on a shelf, also how it's in a warehouse, the films that wrap pallets, how they ship the products, the boxes used, the case boxes, all those could be required to have additional mandatory minimum content, additional requirements on the recyclability.
I think, I don't know about other people's concerns, but I would personally think about, with these recycled plastics and all the things that I'm seeing, just as a consumer, a lot of these recycled products and thinner, the plastics are getting thinner and thinner and lower quality. Could this impact the shelf life, potentially of our products and stability and being able to ship it, across the seas and stuff?
Absolutely. Could affect shelf life, could affect even that you have to go through a process to make sure you have an FDA approval for those materials to be able to, if there's direct food contact. So there's food safety requirements that you have to go through. And yes, shelf life. Some products we want to be able to have a barrier that does not breathe. Other products, they want to retain freshness, a cut salad or something in that area. They actually layer it so that those bags can breathe. And so it's an interesting dynamic. And the more layers you put into a product and the more different types of film, the less recyclable typically that product is. And so as we engineer these packaging products for what the consumers need and shelf life, food safety, those areas, we actually can impact their long-term recyclability.
So, two last questions here. How is there going to be some kind of incentives or funding to help make things work? New product innovations to, like I said, to make ends meet with the demands, and also how soon is this all going to come into play?
Well, right now there's still legislative proposals, and there is actually an initiative on next year's ballot that just qualified a few weeks ago in July. And so there will be There has been some funding in the budget to the regulatory agencies to help push innovation. There's been some grant funding for the recycling system to be able to collect more variety of materials and get them properly sorted so that then they could be sent upstream into the circular economy. But again, I think from the package itself, it's likely actually to drive costs upwards, because you're going to have to begin and collect and then pay for that material to be pulled through the system and then put back into a product. So there is some funding for the technology for sorting in that area, but it probably will likely over time result in higher packaging costs.
Yeah, and whether our consumers are willing to, take that price, or whether our producers will have to take it on. It's like that's going to be a sustainability issue. So,
yeah, the cost definitely comes up. There's also an interesting dynamic that this is a California, and while we think we're a nation state, that's our requirements. But when we ship to another state or another country, they have their own requirements. So we try to standardize one as a lobbyist and advocate. We try to go and make sure that we can get as standardized of a system across, at least nationally within the United States. And that's where, again, the food safety letters from the FDA and those approvals all have to come in for each and every product. And so we do work for standardization, and then obviously that also helps keep costs down if it's not just a California-only label or package.
Yeah, I mean, that in mind, it's likely that some people could ship things out of state for further packaging to make things go, and then you've got more business leaving the state. So, well, I guess we'll see how that goes. Thank you so much for taking the time. Appreciate your advocating on behalf of the industry, and obviously you're very in tune. I can see you've got a new office here right next to the Capitol, right? You could.
Yeah, we just moved in March. We had the opportunity to purchase a building, and it happened to be right across the street from the Capitol. And as we said, while the markets go up and down, I don't think they're moving the Capitol anytime soon. So this is a great spot to be. We welcome, as Almond members come up to Sacramento and they need a place to stop by, or we do have extra offices to sit up for a day or in between meetings. So there's all those kinds of opportunities. Again, we're right on 11th Street, right across from the Capitol.
Well, thanks again, Dennis, for all that you California advocates do. Read more about these things in our publications. I'm Matthew Malcolm, CaliforniaAgNet.com.